Ski and welcome into another edition of the PHNX D-Backs podcast right here on PHNX. Let me get this microphone in here. I'm the mayor of PHNX, occasionally known as your mayor of this place, PHNX, occasionally also known as Derek Montilla. This man next to me is not Thunderstick Jesse Friedman, but he's the people's producer, Damon, and there's no better person to have here next to me on the night that Geraldo Perdomo returns than Damon Dog. What a huge night for this team. What a big night for the offense. But most importantly, let's just talk about it. Geraldo Perdomo returns to the lineup and everything is right with the world, Damon. Everything is right with the world.
Yeah, you're not wrong. This was my Super Bowl tonight. You make a great point about everything being right with the world when Perdomo plays baseball. Like
this just feels like, right? Yeah.
This is what a utopian society feels like. Yeah. Perdomo's batting 9. He's in the 9 hole, and that's utopia in my world. I just like the vibes. Just Derek, the vibes.
The vibes are immaculate. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about Perdomo getting an RBI single in his very first at bat, in the very first pitch, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And the risk king continues to be the risk king. He was 2 for 4 tonight with an RBI, a walk, and a run scored. Even without being the best offensive player on the field tonight, you just can't say enough about what Geraldo Perdomo being back means. And there is the utopian society that you were talking about that we live in now that, you know, Perdomo is back and everything is right with the world.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's great to be in Damon's world right now.
I'm going to let you have your moment. Go off, please. Go. Yeah, please. It's all you.
I just like, to all the people that decided that, you know, Perdomo was the odd man out, the guy that we should be trading in the offseason, you guys should be ashamed of yourselves. I mean, it wasn't me that did it, so I'm not the one that's supposed to be ashamed of myself. But this guy, like, how many games has he played, Derek? I feel like this baseball team is incredible with him.
His impact is just hard to quantify sometimes because, yes, he was, you know, he did a great job in his first night back going 2 for 4. But, I mean, it's not just defensively and what he does at the plate. There was that moment where Jordan Montgomery seemed to kind of be struggling there early in this game. And Perdomo comes over as part of the mound visit. And I mean, it didn't look like it was a 2-man kind of dance there, right? It was Moreno coming out from behind the plate to talk to his pitcher. But Perdomo does that thing that he always does, and he comes over as part of that meeting. On the broadcast, they talked about like, Torey Lovullo essentially saying everything in the infield runs through Perdomo, and you see him over there showing support to his pitcher, you know, doing the little things that like just make you in that moment feel good. Having a teammate that has your back, shows you that support, literally shows you that support, just comes over in the moment to say, you got this, man. You know, like whatever words of encouragement he gave, you could tell that's kind of all he was really there for. But he takes that leadership role seriously and kind of understands the impact that he can have beyond just his play.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like, he's just always been that guy. He's always been intangibles guy. Like Torey talked about it in pregame, and he said, didn't Torey say like he's the emotional leader of this team?
Yeah,
that's just who Perdomo is. Like he brings all that stuff to the table that doesn't necessarily show up in the box score. But we're just a way better baseball team when he plays versus when he doesn't. It's clear as day. Like it couldn't be more clear. And someone mentioned in the comments here, how about that bunt? How about that bunt? That was insane.
I mean, it's one of the things. It's just an example of the things that guys like Perdomo do to get on base, to cause the defense to have problems, right? They're going to think about that on future plays, not to mention the fact that the Diamondbacks have other guys with speed. Tonight, Corbin Carroll was showing off his speed. You got Jake McCarthy still on the bench. Like guys like that make the defense uneasy when they can do what Perdomo did, dropping that bunt and getting on base. And yeah, Jacob Franklin is right. That's just pure snake's ball.
It was tonight. It was pure snake's ball tonight.
Yeah. I mean, it's the offense exploded tonight. I mean, the Diamondbacks put up 15 hits. They put up 9 runs. They had contributions all over the place. Corbin Carroll looks absolutely back, even though he got moved down in the lineup. He went 3 for 4 tonight with a triple, a double, a walk, an RBI, a run scored. He did everything, did it all in his I mean, he did have one defensive play that definitely made me miss Alec Thomas a little bit there in center field. But in his last 6 games, Corbin Carroll is 10 for 25, which is a 400 batting average. He has the 2 doubles, a triple, and 4 walks. So, I mean, this man continues to be incredible lately. He's reached base safely in 19 of his last 21 games. I know there was a lot for Diamondbacks fans to be definitely worried about when it came to Corbin Carroll, but it very much feels like the small changes he's made has been enough to impact his game positively. I mean, you're just seeing a different level of confidence in Corbin Carroll lately. His approaches at the plate look much better. He's no longer really swinging at that, high fastball on the inside as much. They're talking about that on the broadcast tonight. But Corbin Carroll was just the home run away from the cycle tonight. And I mean, again, it's a big night. We've talked about him being back, but nights like tonight definitely make you feel like Corbin Carroll is kind of past those struggles early this season.
I'm in a place where I'm feeling good about Corbin. I don't know about everybody else. It's like maybe that's fickle, but like I feel like we've been seeing him play better baseball for about 2-3 weeks now. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Like that's. I mean, he's been getting some triples. He had he led the league in triples last year, and he had like next to no triples to start the season through like the first 2 months. Now he's collecting a few. He's getting some extra base hits. He isn't hitting the ball over the fence, but he's hitting doubles and triples, and it looks like he's just seeing the ball a lot better. And if Corbin's going to play baseball like this, he's an incredibly valuable player. He's really helping the team. Like he doesn't need to be necessarily last year's version of himself to be a useful player. He just needs to not be a horrific hitter. Like if he's getting on base and causing chaos, and we're playing baseball the way that the Diamondbacks want to play baseball, Corbin is a huge contribution of that. Like he's a huge piece of that. So it's just good to see him continually going. And Maze Devil says it here. How about 2-hole Gabby? Can we talk about him for a second? What did I watch tonight?
I don't know, but they talked about that on the broadcast. Didn't they say he was like 9 for 18 coming in tonight in the 2-hole? Tonight, he's 3 for 5.
Yeah.
You had 5 players that had multi-hit games tonight. You had Gabby Moreno going 3 for 5 with 2 RBI and a run scored. You had Lourdes Gurriel going 3 for 5 with 3 singles and 2 RBI. Corbin Carroll, we talked about him. Corbin Carroll went 3 for 4, 2 runs scored, 1 walk, 1 RBI. Perdomo, 2 for 4, 1 run, 1 RBI, 1 walk, and then the man of the match, the man of the night was Randal Grichuk, who, man, I mean, he was unstoppable tonight. Grichuk,
oh yeah,
I mean, was single away from the cycle, which, by the way, it's a funny question to me. If you hit one into the gap when you're just a single away from the cycle, and you could go for 2, maybe even go for 3, are you just stopping at first base and just taking that single? Or are you a shitty person at that? Like, would that ruin, if it was obvious, Damon, that you could go for 2 or 3, is that kind of ruin your cycle that you just pulled up at first base and take the single?
Yeah, absolutely. So here's my thought process on it. When you're rounding, when it's like it's a single that you're trying to stretch into a double, or that probably should be stretched into a double, and you need a single, it's very obvious that you're dogging it, like that you're not running fully hard enough and that you gave up. If it could be a triple, but you need a double, you could really pace yourself on that run around and make it look pretty natural that you should have ended up at second base.
Right.
I think you can get away with that one, but you can't get away with the first base one.
Unless they're in like the right field corner and they still haven't picked up the ball yet, and you're just coming into second, you're like, right? But he was close, 3 for 4 tonight. Grichuk is now hitting 320 with an 855 OPS. Wow. Since April 15th, he is hitting 356 in games he started with 8 RBI and 4 walks. I I don't know. I mean, defensively, he's been fairly solid when we've seen him in the outfield. I honestly could see a whole lot more of Randal Grichuk. I just don't know what the combination is going to look like, especially once that outfield gets a bit more crowded with Alec Thomas returning.
I mean, I think that it's been the role that he was brought on to do the whole time. Would be what I would say to that. Like,
yeah,
when we signed him with the thought process that Alec was going to be healthy and ready to go. Alec isn't an injury-prone player by any stretch of the imagination. So,
right.
I think Grichuk's just going to do what we signed him to do, and that's just crush lefties. And that's what he did today. And that's like what we're paying him $2 million on a 1-year deal to do. Like, it's not like we didn't give him Gurriel's contract for a reason. Like, he's not an everyday player. He's a platoon player. So, I'm happy with Grichuk, and him and Jock have done as best as you possibly could have imagined.
This DH platoon, man. Jock's hitting 286 with an 879 OPS. Grichuk, I had his numbers wrong. After his last out, he's hitting 316. Oh, hell yeah, with 847 OPS. You're getting that out of the two guys that were like a platoon you were bringing to have a complete DH. I want to say, looking at Jorge Soler swinging at everything, and JD Martinez's slow start, and whatever the hell Justin Gritty is doing over there as the mascot for the Phillies. Like, these guys, I mean, these guys aren't doing
Garrett
shit.
Stubbs is the mascot for the Phillies.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was thinking of Flyers, the mascot for the Flyers. That's Justin Turner. He's Gritty. It's a whole other thing. But yeah, I mean, no, I mean, these the guys the Diamondbacks picked up, as far as those two players to fill that role, have been pretty solid. And I mean, honestly, two of the better additions to this team this year. So that's not the swing and miss. The swing and miss, both figuratively and literally, is Gino. And it's in sad news. Gino goes 0 for 4 tonight with 2 strikeouts. He's now hitting 197 this season with a 575 OPS. Let's talk about it. Is there a tough conversation happening soon about his immediate future with this team? This isn't the first time we've brought this up, but things aren't getting better. And so far, the Diamondbacks didn't commit to sending Blaze Alexander down when they made the move to bring Jerry P back. They sent down Pavin Smith. So what do you foresee happening here, Damon? What do you think is going to happen?
I mean, I think they continue to ride it out with Gino. I think if worse comes to worse, they're going to give maybe some of those reps to Blaze or Kevin Newman potentially, like just switch it up with a different infielder. But I don't think Gino's really in danger of like being DFA'd necessarily. Yeah. But yeah, it's unfortunate when you have a big offensive showing like this tonight and you have extra base hits all over the yard, and Gino, like your hitter that's struggling the absolute most, just doesn't show up. Like that's the perfect type of game for that guy to break out of his slump. That's what you want, at least. So it's unfortunate, a little discouraging when that doesn't happen. But I don't know, man. The D-backs are such like I feel like Torey is such a loyal manager, like he tries to be, and the D-backs are like, they really pride themselves on that loyalty. And I don't think that they're gonna like not give Gino till the All-Star break to figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, right now, on a night like tonight, that's a perfect example of when the team carried everyone else. They didn't even need Ketel Marte. I mean, he did walk 3 times, so he was on base 3 times. He scored 2 runs, so he still contributed, but no hits tonight for Marte. And the Diamondbacks still were able to put up 9 runs. Like, this is this team. This is what we thought we were going to see out of this team this year, where they didn't need anybody to be a particular superstar, that this team as a whole was constructed in a way where you were going to have contributions on any given night from different members of this offense, and have different guys stepping up and being the star of the night. And tonight, the guy was Randal Grichuk, and that man is absolutely our king snake for tonight's game. Again, Randal Grichuk, 3 for 4 tonight, a home run, a double, 2 RBIs, a triple, 3 runs scored, 1 walk. I mean, he even had the walk. He literally almost had the full cycle of the walk, the single, the double, the triple, and the home run. All he was missing tonight was the single. And yeah, I don't really know exactly what got into Randal Grichuk. But looking at his numbers this season, like I said earlier, this man has been doing it all year long, just very quietly, right? Randal doesn't necessarily get the credit. We barely speak about him on this show. I'll be one of the first people to say we barely bring up Randal Grichuk. And honestly, we should be bringing him up more because he's been contributing all season long. He's just kind of one of those quiet contributors that does it he doesn't usually have nights like this, but he's always, kind of putting something in, putting something into the game. But speaking of putting something into this, I mean, what is the bigger explanation here? Potentially the fact that Torey Lovullo had a cornhole party with a petting zoo at his house on the off day yesterday. Is that really why the offense broke out like they did today? Because I feel like that's the true answer. And I'm also a little offended I wasn't invited. Like, I know me and Torey aren't tight like that, but I don't know. I feel like
I like cornhole.
I love petting zoos. Are you kidding me? Cornhole and petting zoos? Yes. And beers. There were a lot of adult beverages being had. So whatever happened there, though, that's honestly like a very good managerial move. When the team is kind of in a position where the upcoming games are very important. However, because of the importance of those games and because of the level of competition you're facing, maybe you do get uptight about it. Maybe you do start to get just a little bit in your own head too much about facing teams like the Angels, the White Sox, and the Nationals, knowing that on paper you should beat them, but knowing the way the season has gone, that there's a good chance that you could really drop the ball over these next 9 games. And honestly, if the Diamondbacks don't have a strong showing over these 9 games, it's not, I don't think it's that far-fetched to start saying this season is slipping away from them, right? So I felt like this was a good time to kind of relieve that tension and relieve, maybe some of that pressure the players are feeling by just having a party and hanging out and just being a family.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you want to talk about getting connected. How about a petting zoo party where you guys have a cornhole tournament? Like, that's connected equals dangerous, and we just witnessed it on the baseball diamond tonight. Yeah. Like, it's really pretty simple.
Jerry P rode an ostrich and was like, "I'm going 2 for 4 tomorrow," right? Like,
that's exactly what I said. I said Jerry like fed an ostrich and all of a sudden was like, "Watch this! I'm about to bunt up 6 runs tomorrow for my second hit of the night." Like, he seems like the type of guy who loves zoo animals.
I mean, we know Christian Walker loves zoo animals. The poor guy went 0 for 5 today, so I'm sure he's disappointed one day after.
He likes to mount zoo animals' heads.
That's
on
different.
his wall.
Yeah, and he does. I mean, he has zoo animals, right? He possesses horses, so it's not that exciting to him to be around, farm animals. It's just his normal life,
This is a good point by Abby here. I just know animals love Perdomo. It's the aura. It's that aura. 100%.
Like, it would almost make you jealous. Like, the baby goat that's scared of everybody would just crawl up into Jerry P's lap and let him bottle feed him. And you would just be furious watching from afar because you're like, that baby goat ran from me. And look he's just cuddled up in Jerry's lap. He's
sleeping. He fell asleep already. Yeah. One thing you mentioned during the Grichuk talk that I wanted to hit on a little bit.
Sure.
Like, it felt like at so many times this season, there was like one guy doing all the work, or like guys in different parts of the lineup that were the reason that, we had any hits at all. Like, no one was piecing it together. You'd have Cattell at the top of the lineup, always hitting with nobody on. You'd have
blazing like the 7-hole hitting, or
you'd have Kevin Newman. Yeah. And like, our only runs that were scored were when Kevin Newman would get on for Cattell. Like that, there's been portions of the season that felt that way, at least to me. And tonight felt like even the guys who didn't do anything. I mean, I know Gino has been awful and no one trusts him, but like, I more mean like Seawalk going 0 for 5. Every single person that was up tonight, I was like, we're about to do some damage. Like, it felt that way. It felt like this team was like piecing together a full baseball game 1 through 9 in the lineup. And like, we haven't seen that too much this season. And if we can start putting that together on this 9-game stretch, like, I'm feeling pretty good about where we're at in the season because we can get ourselves up above 500 and with some momentum.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And again, this is what it's all about. Like the Diamondbacks have played well at times against good teams. The bigger problem has been the way that they've played against teams that I guess are in a similar position as themselves. I said it earlier about when the Diamondbacks took care of business against the Reds. I thought they did a great job of pouncing on a team that just wasn't playing good baseball in the moment. But man, if you look at what the Reds have done since then, they've really bounced back and they've beat some good teams. So the Reds are one of those teams that, again, became kind of dangerous, but the Diamondbacks were able in that window that they had to play them in essentially 7 games in a very short period of time. It happened to be during a time when the Reds just weren't playing winning baseball, and the Diamondbacks took care of that. But there's been other series this year, obviously, close series against teams that maybe they should have won the series, like the Yankees, maybe the Brave series where they got swept, where it was just slipped through their fingers at times. Like there's been a lot of games, right, against good teams that it felt like they could have a better record against teams with a 500 record, plus 500 record. But it's really these games, right? Because they don't have a lot of them. After this, if you start looking at the schedule gets very tough after this. Once they start get done with the Nationals and they play the Phillies, it's like the Dodgers and then the Braves. There's a lot of good teams that they play before the All-Star break. So it really
stack wins.
Yeah, it's really that time to stack wins. You know what I mean? And I mean that's where maybe you do feel the pressure too much, right? Because you feel like these games are must win. And then if you lose one or if you lose two, you start feeling like, even though it's June 12th, June 13th, like the season's starting to unravel on you, right? That might not be that far-fetched. Like honestly, with the level of competition, how close everything is in the National League for those wild card spots and their upcoming schedule, the Diamondbacks really do have to take these, as many of these games when they have a stretch like they have right now as possible. It's going to be critical when it comes down.
I said it yesterday. Like I expect to win each series. Like you got to win the series. Like I'm not expecting you to sweep a team. I think you need to sweep one team, but
yeah,
like I'm not being nice. Like you got to sweep every team that you play here, like the White Sox, Angels. But you got to win all these series. You got to start stacking wins in that department because losing series against like the Tigers, that's not helping you make the playoffs at the end of the day.
No, but I'll tell you, I mean, like the Tigers, that's a tough team over there. That's just when you look at what they've done this season, they're no slouch. And sometimes that's how things go. When teams turn it around, especially when you play them early, you're like, how did we lose to this team? Well, when you see them playing good baseball against some of the top teams in the league, it's a little bit more understandable. So, well, I do want to thank you guys, of course, for being here in the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do so now. Make sure you're here on YouTube. If you're watching us on Twitter, come on over, join us on YouTube. That way you can be in on the live chat. Subscribe to the channel, sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss whenever our wonderful shows go live. Drop us a like. We love when you drop us a like. We also love our listeners. So if you're listening on the podcast side, make sure you subscribe to us in your favorite podcasting app. Make sure you leave us a review. We always appreciate that feedback. We love those 5-star reviews. They mean the absolute world to us. Damon tonight giving out betting tips on the BetMGM Sportsbook app for our guy Dalton Feely, who immediately cashed in on that Geraldo Perdomo RBI bet and credited you on Twitter. That was very nice of him to do so because you did give him that lock, and that lock was in fact a lock. Listen to this guy. He knows what he's talking about. Shane occasionally knows what he's talking about too. So download. He always makes his record sound better than it is. He always has a way to spin it. But download the BetMGM Sportsbook app and then watch our PHNX bet show. That way you can make yourself some money. Of course, if you're a new customer, sign up and use our code of PHNX. Deposit at least $10 into your newly created account. Spend that amount or more on a bet. And of course, if your bet loses, you will get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet does lose. If the bet does lose, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. Get down, of course, right now on the Grand Slam Jackpot promotion, where you can bet $10 on any player to hit a home run during the weekend. That's Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. If the player does, in fact, hit a Grand Slam home run, you can win your share of a $50,000 daily prize. And if you're the sole winner, you win the whole pot. You get all $50,000, or you will share that amount with every other winning bettor. So sign up right now for BetMGM. Use that bonus code of PHNX. Place your first BetMGM Sportsbook wager through the Sportsbook mobile app for at least $10. You will receive up to $15 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. Check out the show notes for full details. And now listen to Shane talk about the disclaimer.
Bets expire in 7 days. One new customer offer only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus only. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only. Subject to eligibility requirements. Bonus bets are non-withdrawable. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. See BetMGM.com for terms. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, North Carolina, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. We were close. Anyway, what's up?
Can you believe that they're offering plus 200 odds for the Risp King to get an RBI?
No, that's crazy.
How crazy is that? It almost I couldn't believe my eyes. I had to wipe my eyes for a second.
Plus 200?
Yeah, plus 225 actually. I said my sweet
for a single RBI for our sweet baby Geraldo Perdomo?
Yeah, for my sweet sugar plum prince. For him to get an RBI, easy money. Easiest money I've ever made.
Sometimes the house doesn't know everything. You know what I mean? Sometimes the house doesn't know everything. Well, hey, you know what? We're celebrating, and I'm not just bringing out one can of Four Peaks beer. I got a whole 15 pack. Yeah, baby. I got my, of course, this is the Bad Birdie Juicy Golden Ale. I had to explain to a lady the other day at the supermarket about why this pattern is so beautiful on the outside of this box, because she didn't quite understand the collab, between Four Peaks and Bad Birdie.
Gotcha.
And that Bad Birdie is this wonderful clothing company that makes exceptional clothes, and that sometimes their patterns can bleed over into their partner's stuff, kind of like when they made us a shirt, or kind of like this beautiful pattern on the Bad Birdie Juicy Golden Ale, which is, like I said, a collab between our friends at Four Peaks and Bad Birdie. Super drinkable, delicious, comes in a 15 pack right now. You can get at your favorite grocery store. You can also get it on tap at bars all around the valley. I might drink this whole thing tonight in honor of Geraldo Perdomo, but that's my business. I'm at home. I'm allowed to do that. Visit fourpeaks.com/located to find all your favorite beers and events. Check out Four Peaks Brew or Four Peaks Pub to keep up with the latest Arizona's hometown brewery. Must be 21 or older to drink Four Peaks. And again, please drink responsibly. Damon, let's take a look at the count from tonight's game presented by our friends at Desert Financial Credit Union, because this was a fun one. Diamondbacks again outscore the Angels 9-4. I know we didn't really talk about Jordan Montgomery, so we're going to circle back to his night, but this wasn't a perfect night by any stretch of the imagination. The Angels really are a struggling team, but they still are a professional baseball team. So I think the Diamondbacks offense coming out like it did, and Jordan Montgomery holding this team to 3 earned runs on his part, still not a bad night. It's not a great night, but it's still a good night. But offensively, a very good night. 15 hits for this team to the Angels 11. Diamondbacks were 7 for 19 for a 368 batting average with runners in scoring position. Angels 3 for 10, 300 batting average for them. Extra base hits, the Diamondbacks had a lot. 7 for the Diamondbacks, 5 for the Angels. And the Angels actually had a hard hit percentage here tonight at 48.4% to the Diamondbacks 45.5%. But Jordan Montgomery tonight, he looked better, Damon. I'm not going to say he was great. He was able to land his breaking stuff a little bit more effectively tonight. He got 9 whiffs, but unfortunately, the majority of those were on his four-seam fastball. And again, his breaking stuff is his bread and butter. And I really think that when you take a look at how he pitched tonight, 5 2/3 innings, gave up 6 hits, 3 earned, 1 walk, 3 Ks. It's not a bad night at all. It's just not a guy that you paid $25 million a year to be a part of your starting rotation and your staff, right? Typically Jordan Montgomery is able to give you more length than 5 2/3 innings, which is really a problem right now. And, like I said, a big part of that problem is his breaking stuff, which is just, he's just missing very badly. He was able to land it in the zone better tonight, but I think, do we have that savant graphic that kind of shows his pitch breakdown? Because you'll see here, like, some of these misses are just, not even competitive when you take a look at some of, his breaking stuff outside of the zone. He had to rely entirely too much on his four-seam fastball. And I mean, he was able to keep it up in the zone, but even that, is out of the zone quite a bit. And he's just not a four-seam fastball pitcher, really. I mean, if he can't land his breaking stuff, or he can't get, batters to bite on it, he has to kind of turn to it, which he did tonight. But like you can see, a lot of this stuff is just so far out of the zone that it's, I mean, again, you batters are not going to swing at any of this junk.
Yeah, I mean, he's I think Elise says it best. It's a step, but it's a small step,
Right.
It's not exactly what we are paying for, but sure,
it's still concerning,
6 innings is not a bad performance. But my biggest concern with him, and it has been the entire season thus far, is he's just not striking anybody out. Every game is 3 Ks, 2 Ks, 4 Ks. Like, he doesn't have any games where there's where he's striking out like 8 batters. Like, and that's what's tough to see, because even guys like Merrill Kelly, who don't necessarily have like overpowering stuff, are striking out lots and lots of batters because their command is so good. And Montgomery clearly doesn't have that right now. So,
well, he's behind a lot. He's pitching from behind quite a bit, and batters just, I think, the scouting report is out on him right now and his struggles. And a big part of the struggles is don't swing at his breaking stuff. It's not going to land in the zone for a strike, and
yeah, that curveball, looking at that Savant page, like, it has like a 50% chance of killing like a family of worms.
Yeah. And I mean, it did feel like a step in the right direction tonight. It did feel like, he is competitive. He gave the Diamondbacks an absolute chance to win. He only gave up 6 hits and 3 earned. And I mean, looked pretty good at times, kind of was the efficient version of himself. It's weird to watch this team as often as you and I do, and as often as Jesse does, and assess them in a way where we really can't get any confirmation on it. But like, it's like the belief in themselves isn't there at times. And when you look at Jordan Montgomery, when he said the other day after his bad outing that he just stinks, like, he believes he stinks. And like, even tonight, there were moments of self-doubt. That's why I brought up Geraldo Perdomo going out to the mound at that point when he did, because I really did feel like that had a positive effect on him. It felt like he kind of got his confidence back, and we saw him just have a little bit of that Jordan Montgomery, kind of effectiveness back. But it's just glimpses right now versus it being throughout the entire outing. And that the ability to put it together for an entire outing is what made him the pitcher he was last season for the Rangers, especially in the second half. Now, there was a lot of talk about the Diamondbacks maybe not allowing Montgomery to make this start, and that seemed insane to me. But it was an interesting, at least, discussion based on the fact that if he did make tonight's start, it was his 10th start this season, and now he is vested for next year, right? And so with the way he's pitching, it kind of, I mean, people are assuming that he's not going to potentially get any kind of better contract or better deal that he has with the Diamondbacks, and we'll see him in Sedona red and teal next season. I don't hate that, because Jordan Montgomery might still be a very good pitcher, not only in the second half of this season when the pressure's alleviated off of him a little bit, as not really being the only other starter on this staff right now other than Brandon Pfaadt. But I feel like once he's had a normal year, a normal offseason, a normal spring training, we might see a different guy next year. So I don't really hate the idea of him being vested for next season and being back on this team next year. But his numbers, Jesse talked about him last start. His numbers aren't great. And when you start comparing the beginning of someone's career to Madison Bumgarner's time with the Diamondbacks, nobody wants to hear that.
No, absolutely not. That's nightmare fuel.
It's absolutely nightmare fuel.
But yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. Like hypothetically, the price that we got Montgomery for going into the season was like, we thought we were getting a pretty good value contract. So if he pitches the way he's supposed to, hypothetically, next season could be a fine deal. But obviously, you're not going to feel good about that at all. I think the main reason, like maybe they would look at DFAing him and having somebody else pick him up on waivers and getting off of that contract, but they absolutely just can't right now with the situation of the team and the rotation. Like they need him more than they've ever needed him to be what they paid for him. So I just think that's
the problem being that now that he made this 10th start, they owe him that money regardless, just like they did Bumgarner. So if they DFA him, just like they did with Bumgarner, they're still on the hook for that.
Well, someone could take that contract if they wanted to, right? They could
that's
claim
right.
him.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And there's a good chance they would, like they said,
exactly.
when they discussed it. There's 29 other teams that would absolutely jump on the opportunity of giving Jordan Montgomery a chance right now at this point. So I don't know. I think that what we're seeing is, especially in baseball, it's sometimes slow, right? And sometimes, like with Corbin Carroll, we talked about some of his at-bats even on an 0 for 4 night looking better. And some people called us crazy, like we were just making it up or seeing what we wanted to see. Like sometimes you just see, even when the results aren't there, that they're making steps in the right direction. And I feel like tonight was definitely a step in the right direction for Jordan Montgomery. And I mean, again, versus his last start where he wasn't able to get his breaking stuff in the zone at all, at least tonight, he was a bit more effective with it and a bit more on track. Meanwhile, the bullpen is just insane. I mean, Bryce Jarvis had a terrible night, and Bryce Jarvis, the Diamondbacks are asking Bryce Jarvis to go out there at times and be in mop-up games and cleanup games, and they're going to ask even more of that from him now that they've DFA'd Logan Allen, right? But Justin Martinez throwing 102 mile per hour sinker for a strike just doesn't seem fair. That doesn't seem like it should be allowed. And it's one of those times where I just watch that guy pitch and think, I am very glad that man is on my team and not on the Giants.
I'll tell you, it shouldn't be allowed. Having Geraldo Perdomo and Justin Martinez on your same team. My favorite team. Not your favorite team, my favorite team.
Yeah.
I get to watch him, not you.
Yeah. Yeah. And you throw in Ketel Marte, the most the most I guess unwittingly, unknowingly hilarious player in all of baseball.
The most swag in baseball, I think, is the best way of putting it.
It's the greatest show on turf, I guess you could say, at Chase Field. I know there's another football team called that, but I still like it. Of course, we are going to be joined here by Jesse Friedman joining us from Chase Field. But again, a big shout out to Desert Financial Credit Union. For more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union. I know that because 84 years ago, I got my first checking account. Apparently, I'm that old, according to these jerks that I do this show with.
With how much you bought your house for with the help of Desert Financial?
Yeah,
it might as well have been 80 years ago.
With what my interest rate is, for sure. But of course, that's because they got me started on my home ownership journey, and they're dedicated to helping their customers achieve their financial goals, find financial solutions that make their lives better. Of course, you can look to Desert Financial for checking and savings accounts, mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and so much more. Trust a credit union that is committed to giving back to the community and sharing success with you, their members. When you open a free checking account online right now, you can get $200 in bonuses. Get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200 right now. Damon, I'm working from home, and of course, the thing I missed the most was the fact that I get to pass by so many Circle K's on the way to the office. I have the one on the way to the freeway. I have the one right off the freeway. I have a couple on the side of the freeway on the way there, and I could just decide when I want to stop and get snacks. When I'm here, trapped in my home on a 112-degree day, I don't want to go anywhere, and that makes me sad because, of course, we've talked about how much we love the Circle K Frosters and the Polar Pops. It's I mean, it's part of my contract. Like I've said, it's my attaboy. It's the treat Saul feeds me anytime I do something that makes him happy, which is very rare, but still I get those Frosters. I get those Frosters, Damon. They only cost 79 cents, but still it's all I need in life sometimes. Of course, the Polar Pops, get all those treats. If you are a Inner Circle member, you can get even bigger discounts, even like 79 cents. That's not cheap enough for you. How about 69 cents? Well, if you're an Inner Circle member, you might even get a free Polar Pop in the app. You can also get all sorts of other great sales deals. You can save 25 cents off per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups when you join the Inner Circle for free right now by downloading the Circle K app. Of course, terms and conditions do apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details. Also, speaking of great deals, if you aren't already a diehard member of PHNX, suggest you jump on that right now. We have our PHNX takeover of the Mercury game on Thursday, which you can get a discount for that. You can get Jesse's wonderful writing. You can get all of his content that's locked behind a paywall. That villain, he locks it behind a paywall, but you can get access to it. Get access to my wonderful interviews I do as well. By the way, those are nice, and I'm benevolent, and of course I'm just doing that for my diehard members because I love you guys. So that's the way I spin things. I can pretty much spin it however I want sometimes. But
Derek, how about this new shirt collection that we got?
Oh yeah, you know what bothered me about this, Damon? No one told me about this. I found out about this wonderful shirt collection when everybody else did. I thought I was supposed to have some sort of insider knowledge, and then all of these wonderful shirts, including that incredible Year of the Snake shirt, drop on our website. Of course, the Valley collection. You can get all those shirts at thephnxlocker.com. And if you are a brand new diehard, you can pick out one of those shirts for free and get it sent to you as part of your welcome package. So make sure to check that out today. Well, of course,
Totri said it on the to me today at work. He said he thinks that taco truck shirt was made specifically for me. Like they made that concept with the idea of me wearing it. I agree. I love it.
I squealed. Like, okay, so like we had beanies, but no one told Lindsay, and she was furious. I felt the same way about tank tops being on our website. I was like, no one told me we were getting tank tops. What the hell?
That is ridiculous.
I'm a tank top guy.
Yeah,
I love tank tops. It's 100.
It'd be like if they got luchador masks and didn't tell you.
Oh, I'd be like, how did you not consult on this with me? What is going on here?
Ridiculous.
But, speaking of people we have to consult with, let's bring on the one and only Thunderstick Jesse Friedman, my vice mayor, your Thunderstick. Jesse, huge win for the Diamondbacks tonight. Offense, a lot of guys got going tonight, a lot of multi-hit games, 5 guys with multi-hit games, and it just felt like a very, very, very thorough victory one night after this team all had a family get-together at Torey's house, with a petting zoo and a cornhole tournament.
Yeah, well, first of all, I feel like I have I guess big shoes to fill here, and that Damon's background was way cooler than mine. And I'm at the ballpark, but it still doesn't feel like mine is nearly as cool.
He was living in the dystopia, or actually the utopian society of Geraldo Perdomo being back.
You like this, Jesse?
He's living in.
This is what life looks like when Geraldo Perdomo is batting 9 in your lineup.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, my other question was, has Damon just been talking about Geraldo Perdomo ad nauseum for the last 43 minutes?
Yeah, I tried to steer the conversation, but it all kept coming back to Geraldo Perdomo.
I keep bringing this up whenever Derek starts talking about a different player, and Derek will be like, "How about Randal Grichuk tonight?" And I'll be like, "Hey, Derek, shh. How about Geraldo Perdomo tonight?" Willing Randal Grichuk to a almost cycle performance. His vibes did that. They're that strong.
Button for a single, doing it all, Jesse. He did it all tonight.
He really did. Yeah, I mean, this was sort of like this game was, I think, just illustrated very well what Geraldo Perdomo can do for you, right? It was the RBI single on the very first pitch that he saw with runners on the corners and 1 out. It was a walk, a 5-pitch walk. It was the beautiful bunt that he laid down for a base hit that allowed the Diamondbacks to really get something going. That's sort of when they put this game away once and for all. So yeah, his fingerprints were very much all over this. And yeah, I mean, we've got a ton of video here, Derek. There's some pretty fun stuff, some pretty interesting stuff that was said after this one. So here's Torey Lovullo talking about how good it is to have Geraldo Perdomo back.
I'm sorry that I failed to mention him. Just having him back out there and just patrolling that space at shortstop. Nothing against Kevin Newman and Blaze Alexander. They both did a fantastic job. But, Jerry just quarterbacks things out there. He's very comfortable. The first pitch that he sees, he lines in the left field. Talk about readiness. It was a quality at bat, scored a big run for us. And then you're right, he offers so many different little intangibles. The third baseman's back, he just drops down the bunt, gives us a base runner, and that was part of the inning that we broke the game open. He's a very smart player. He sees the baseball field and he understands what his role is. Every at bat, he understands what his role is when he's standing out on defense as well.
They talked on the broadcast about essentially Torey saying that everything in the infield goes through Geraldo Perdomo. And I mean, I felt like a big moment I talked about a couple of times earlier in the show was the fact that he went out there when Montgomery was struggling early and just was there. And I mean, I've seen the infield come in when they have a mound visit. I've seen the infield come in when, Moreno walks out to talk to any pitcher who's struggling, right? It's not something new, but it wasn't like a whole infield come in situation. It was literally just Perdomo and Moreno that walked out there. And again, I was watching closely because I was excited to see Jerry out there, and it really just looked like he gave him a pat on the butt and gave him some encouraging words. But honestly, that's kind of what he does at times. He's just a great teammate, and I feel like he understands at times what guys need. And sometimes when you're struggling the way Monty has been struggling on the mound, sometimes you just need a teammate to come out and believe in you a little bit and show you that support.
Yeah, well, that's a beautiful lead into my next thing here. Jordan Montgomery, when talking with us about his outing after the game, we didn't ask about anything relating to Perdomo specifically, but he sort of went out of his way to mention that it was good having Perdomo back. And he talked about how Perdomo was sort of chirping behind him and kind of cheering him on throughout this game. And he was later asked to clarify, what exactly was Perdomo saying to you? And here's what Monty had to say about that.
Just cheering for me. I don't know how to explain it. He's talks to me in between every inning, keep going, and I don't know. It's nice.
It's the vibes, man. He said it's nice, right? It's sometimes that stuff seems silly because you're a man out there doing your thing. Baseball's a weird sport where at times when guys are either doing well or struggling, you're not even supposed to talk to them or acknowledge, what's going on. You're just supposed to let it go. But I mean, sure. Montgomery's been struggling. He's been struggling. And at times, especially early on, it felt like this game might go either way. We might see another poor performance from Montgomery. And that mound visit, it was small, it was brief, but it really did feel like it got him back settled in. And we saw him have some really good moments at times in this game. But again, it's you just can't explain sometimes how someone like Perdomo can help the entire team out just with his attitude and his infectious personality.
100%. Yeah. I mean, you can tell that Montgomery means it. He really appreciated Perdomo kind of being out there and cheering him on. And this wasn't, I wouldn't say this was Jordan Montgomery getting back to himself. I'm being totally honest. 5 2/3, 3 runs. It was a fine outing. There was, he gave the Diamondbacks a chance to win. They wound up.
It was good.
Because of a big day for the offense. Yeah, I think you could consider this outing good, but it also came against a pretty bad Angels lineup, frankly.
Right.
And I mean, it wasn't the eye test. I wouldn't say. I know we had a couple of 1, 2, 3 innings, but at least to me, it never really felt like a dominant outing. There were little mini runs here and there, but there was still a decent amount of hard contact at times, especially right before he left the game. Montgomery after this game, you could tell he wasn't overwhelmingly satisfied with his performance. He still feels that there's a bit of a ways to go. But you did see the velo tick up a little bit. I think it averaged 92.2 in this game, both the sinker and the four-seamer. I believe there was one game where it was up at 92.3, but outside of that one game, this is the highest that we've seen Montgomery's velo this season. We'll see kind of how that looks in his next few starts, whether he's able to maintain that and if that's a real thing. But yeah, it was a step in the right direction, I think, is sort of where I land on this and where Montgomery seems to have landed too. Talked about how it was nice to be a part of a win, something he hasn't been able to experience the last couple times out.
Well, and again, he just looked like a guy that had kind of lost belief in himself there. And when he was talking about how he stinks after his last outing, you could kind of tell it was, it's a self-doubt, it's a lack of confidence. It's not really a lack of ability. And again, we saw him improve. There were some really bad misses. We brought up his entire pitch chart from tonight, and I think that's the biggest thing was when you saw him miss with some of his breaking stuff, he missed badly. Like it wasn't just missing a little bit. And we've seen him miss a little bit, but the problem when he was missing a little bit with some of those outings was it seemed like there was nothing he could do to not miss. It seemed like he couldn't get that breaking stuff in the zone. And then when he did, it's just a meatball right down the middle of the plate. And that's when, things are getting dangerous for him. But of course, it's easy on a night where your offense really picks you up like this to go out there and have a better outing. And having a good outing tonight, you can build on that for the next time. And hopefully, like I said, hopefully once some of the starting rotation returns, it alleviates some of the pressure that Montgomery might be feeling. This guy was asked to be part of a starting rotation where his role was going to be third guy in the rotation, maybe fourth guy, fifth guy, who knows where he was going to fit in, right? And then all of a sudden, very quickly, he was asked to essentially be the ace along with Brandon Pfaadt. We need one of you guys to kind of step up and now be the ace for us. It's a weird, it's been a weird roller coaster ride of a season for Montgomery. And I think, some stability could really help him, having some other, members of the starting rotation come in and just take off some of that pressure of being that ace, being that veteran guy in the starting rotation really could maybe help him improve.
You can totally tell that he's definitely felt the weight of this. I think the Diamondbacks missing so many guys and Montgomery being a guy that was that kind of a workhorse over the last few years, especially last year. He was the number 2 starter on the team that won the World Series. And I think you could argue he was maybe even better than Nathan Eovaldi was throughout the playoffs. He was really, really good, in the most important moment. He's used to being able to deliver in situations like this. And I'm sure it's been hard on him. We saw his reaction his last time out where he said, "No, I just stink," when asked about the impact of missing spring training and whatnot. He takes this very seriously. He's not been making any excuses whatsoever. For him, definitely a step in the right direction today. I guess the biggest storyline from this game, Derek, which I'm sure you guys have already touched on, is Randal Grichuk and the fact that
he definitely doesn't stink.
Definitely not. The guy had he was a single away from the cycle in the 5th inning. He had 2 more opportunities to complete that cycle. It would have been the first one for the Diamondbacks since 2012. If people remember back to when Aaron Hill did it twice in the span of 11 days, which was
right.
a really wild thing that happened
insane.
A little over a decade ago. And then, of course, Corbin Carroll also had a bid for a cycle himself in the 7th inning. He was just a home run away, did have 1 more at bat, wasn't able to complete it either. But Randal Grichuk has just been so consistent. That's the thing that really stands out to me.
Yeah, especially considering he doesn't play every day. He talked on the broadcast after the game about adjusting to that, right? And adjusting to the fact that now that he doesn't play all the time, how does he keep himself ready? How does he stay prepared? And he, admitted to that being a new thing for him. And but again, tonight, not only tonight, but this entire season, the man's hitting .316. Him and Jock Peterson, we kind of talked about what a great pickup this duo actually ends up becoming for this team to fill that DH spot that they were kind of looking to fill. Yet based on the way things have gone this season, they've had to call on him and Jock Peterson, I'm sure more than planned. And he seems, excited about it. Tonight was a great game for him. Obviously, just being that single short of the cycle. Jesse, are you a scumbag if you hit a ball that's obviously a double and you just stop at first base in order to get your cycle? Damon says yes. What's your take?
I think that if you are up big, even down big, I wouldn't feel good about it. If you're up big, then I wouldn't have an issue with that. If you're up by 10 runs, then sure, slow up, take your single or whatever.
All right.
And complete the cycle. That's just my personal opinion.
Jesse's on the dark side with me. Yes. But
I doubt that players would agree with me on that. I'm guessing baseball players are they're such creatures of habit and, grinders, and like they're gonna take whatever bases they can get probably. But maybe that's a character flaw of my own coming out there. But you've been doing this show too long with me is what the key is there. But it's your influence for sure. That's what it is. We do have some stuff from both Torey and Randal himself on what Randal did tonight and was able to do or has been able to do for the D-backs throughout the season. So first, let's go to Torey on just what Randal has meant to this team this year.
Yeah, just that. I would say a model of consistency. He's able to hit both left and right-handed pitching. He gets every lefty at bat that we can possibly give him. And I've had him thrown in there against some righties and started, and he's had a very, very capable at bat. I don't think there's any hustle to his approach. He knows what he's trying to get to. He understands how the pitcher is going to work him, and he goes out there and competes every night.
It seems like he could probably have a bigger role, but he doesn't seem like unhappy with it. And he seems to fit with whatever his role is.
I'm grateful for Randal and how he fits into this team, and I've had some discussions with him, and he's a great teammate, because you're right. He could be capable of more, but we've got some really, really good players that are playing around the diamond, and it's working right now. But as I've told him, that if it doesn't work in other areas with certain guys, I feel more than comfortable putting them in there a little bit more consistently. But for right now, this is what it is, and he gets it, and he just wants to win. That's every time I have a conversation with the players, whether I'm pulling back their playing time or I didn't give them an opportunity, they're like, hey man, I just want to be out there to help this team win, and I'll do whatever I can to be a part of that. That's what's healthy here.
And again, I think that is something that Torey does a great job of, like, being honest with players and letting them know realistically what their role is going to be so that they can plan on that, right? But at the same time too, this is one of those seasons that just proves you never know when your number is going to be called, how much is going to be asked of you, or where you're going to end up. Jake McCarthy, I think, is a perfect example of that. A guy that, at the beginning of the season, his future was in doubt with this team a little bit. A lot of trade rumors and a lot of talk about him being sent down. And lately, he's been one of the most productive offensive members of this team, not to mention great in the outfield. So, I mean, again, it's about staying ready and stepping up when you're called upon. And Randal's done that all season long.
Yeah, 100%. And of course, after Torey said those words, we had to ask Randal himself about kind of how he's grappled with the role that he's had this season and the sporadic playing time and everything that's come with that. So here's what Randal had to say.
Yeah, I'm trying to be. Obviously, I know the situation I'm in, so I want to be ready. Every time my name's called, early on, I kind of struggled a little bit not overthinking mechanics, because it's easy to get in a rhythm playing every day, feeling mechanics, pitch to pitch, game to game, at bat to at bat, and then knowing, hey, you might get one at bat here, you might get one 3 days later, you might get a start 2 days later. I'm trying to let go of that and be more free and more relaxed and just ready to swing. And I mean, mechanically, I feel good right now, so it's easy to do that. I know there's going to be a come point at the season when I don't feel good mechanically, and mentally is going to take over to struggle. But right now, I feel good, and hopefully it continues for a while.
Are you thinking about the cycle there, those last couple of bats?
I mean, yes, but not. It'd be cool to want it, but I'd much rather hit a homer there in the last at bat. Hit a double, have a couple ribbies or whatever. It'd be cool, but I'd take the slug.
Did you hit one before?
No.
I guess if you were too focused, you probably wouldn't have walked in that.
Exactly. Right? Yeah, a lot of guys joked saying I should have fouled that ball off my shin just to see another pitch. And I don't walk, so I'm super proud when I do walk. So special variety. So I was excited for that walk, even though it hurt the chances of the cycle.
Well, I think my question is answered about what he would do if he hit the ball for a double, and he ain't slowing up at first base. But man, I mean, it has to be difficult, especially when you're used to playing every day, to come in and just be, ready to go. But with how grueling the season is, I mean, it also kind of makes sense at times why guys that are able to kind of stay fresh and not play every day and not be called upon every day are able to contribute the way, for instance, Randal is contributing, the way Jock is contributing to this team. It's just a little easier because you're not out there every single day, both defensively and offensively, trying to help this team that as a whole has been struggling win baseball games.
Another really interesting thing that stood out from our conversation with Randal had to do with his ankle, actually. People might remember the Diamondbacks signed him and he wasn't really available to play in any games, didn't really play at all in spring training, started the season on the injured list, took a few days, was eventually brought in, a week or two into the season. And he's actually said that ankle he's felt the effects of that he still feels pain in his ankle to this day from the surgery that he had. He said he didn't even really say that his ankle feels better than it did toward the end of last year when this was kind of an issue. He said it feels different, which doesn't sound great to me necessarily. He said it's sort of like kind of like a nagging thing now that comes and goes. He said it's there some days, it's not there other days. Whereas last year, of course, as with all injuries the Diamondbacks players experience, Derek has been there and done that and knows all about it.
Well, I've had a sprained ankle for like 28 years, Jesse. My
actually,
ankle,
that's true. Yeah,
it comes and goes. That's exact. I can relate. I like the amount of times people ask me why I'm limping makes me sick because I get it. I was walking normally 5 minutes ago and now I'm limping. My ankle just sucks. I don't know what to say, and sometimes that's the way it goes, right? But yeah, no, like I think that's the thing that's most amazing about it. And I'm sure that's kind of what he's describing is how some days you can feel fine, walk fine, be fine. And then other days, just, your normal walk, forget running and the athletic activity that you do while playing a baseball game, just walking can hurt, So like, yeah, that kind of stuff can be nagging. And, I think the worst part about it is it doesn't seem to ever go away, right? Like you always have a little something there, a little something that's bothering you. But what wasn't bothering me is the fact that Torey decided to throw a party yesterday, Jesse, to just kind of get all of these guys back on page of being connected and dangerous once again. I can only imagine how competitive a cornhole tournament with professional athletes could be, Jesse. But I imagine that there probably was a lot of pressure still at this party. Like it wasn't just all roses and daisies. Like they're playing each other in cornhole. I'm sure they took that shit seriously.
Do you know who won the cornhole tournament?
I do not know.
Oh, this is a perfect opportunity then. I have to make you guess. Who do you think won the cornhole tournament?
I really feel like Christian Walker. Like Christian Walker is such a bar game guy, but I also could see him not really giving a shit. Like he doesn't. Yeah. He seems like when he's not playing baseball, he is very calm and just fine drinking a beer and existing. Damon, do you want to get in on this?
Yeah, I do want to get in on this. I'm stuck between a couple right now, but I'm going to go with Merrill.
Oh, Merrill, that's an interesting one. See, I don't know if his rehab would allow for him to.
Yeah, that's fair. Can I get a different guess? Then that's fair. I don't even. Yeah,
you can have another.
Get one more.
My thought process was like Merrill strikes me as like old man game at the YMCA, where like his form is just impeccable, and it's just every throw for cornhole is the exact same form. But
no, I know who it is. It's Ryan Thompson. It's got to be Ryan Thompson, right?
It is Ryan Thompson. Wow. Yes.
I was like, it's got to be Ryan Thompson. The man set a record at a Papa shot. He takes everything seriously.
Yeah, it was to be more precise. It was Ryan Thompson and his dad, because of course you have to have a partner to play cornhole. So Ryan Thompson was there with his dad.
That's so wonderful and wholesome.
I'm told that he played against Kevin Newman and Kevin Newman's wife in the championship round. So shout out to the Newman family for the solid runner-up finish.
Go.
Yeah, I don't know how many other details you know about this party, Derek. Have you guys heard about the farm animals? We talked about that already.
Petting zoo, right? Like a petting zoo, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so there was a petting zoo, but naturally when I think of petting zoo, I think like, all right, so you have a fenced off enclosed space where there are animals and all of the players' kids are there and they can go up and pet the animals and it's a great time. And there's probably
goats,
maybe
some rabbits, things like that of that nature.
Right. So yeah, that's what you might have had in your head. But we learned from Randal Grichuk, Derek, after this game that was not, in fact, how this was. They were not fenced off. It was just utter chaos in the Lovullo backyard. There were zebras, there were goats, there were cows, and they're just wandering around. And
what is this, Jumanji at Torey Lovullo's house?
So Grichuk was asked, like, did you have any safety concerns? Like, this doesn't seem like you'd want 2-year-olds like just walking around with like zebras and whatnot. And here's what Grichuk had to say.
Oh my God.
Honestly, yes. Walking back there, I thought it was dangerous. I mean, you got little kids and goats and zebras and cows, and I'm like, what is happening here? They were all super nice. I mean, they accepted the kids to like come pet them, and like a couple kids gave them a little smack because they didn't know better. It's a couple young ones, but yeah, they handled it well. It was awesome.
Cool. That's amazing to me because when my brother was a toddler, he got kicked in the face by a horse. And that's just something that can happen because they're wild animals. So I'm glad to know that didn't happen to anybody at Torey Lovullo's house. But I mean, again, a solid managerial move to kind of take the pressure off a little bit during. I mean, it's not like these 9 games coming up are important, like in the grand scheme of things. It's not against division rivals or against teams that are going to be tough, battles, but it's some games that they really should win. And sometimes that pressure might cause you to get in your head too much,
Yeah. We talked with Geraldo Perdomo about this a little bit. He very much applauded the idea and said it was a great time. And he talked about how D-backs are a family and how, they spend more time around each other than they do their actual families. And they try to really make it feel that way where they are still with family in a sense when they're with the, their sort of baseball community. So I also talked with Kevin Newman for a little while in the dugout prior to this game about this ordeal. And he was also very complimentary. I asked him, like, is this something that you've had happen with other teams that you've been on? And he said, no, nothing. I mean, there have been gatherings and whatnot, but he said nothing quite like this, where like the manager is opening up his home and having a giant bash like this. Torey, of course, credited his wife. It sounds like his wife had probably more to do than he did with this whole thing happening.
Makes sense.
So
he's a little busy.
Yeah, he's a little busy. So shout out to Mrs. Lovullo very much for making this happen.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it sounds like a great time. I noticed it when I was in San Diego on one of the TV screens near the clubhouse. There was something about the annual Lovullo cornhole tournament. I guess serving as like a reminder for them.
Annual. I got to pencil this in my schedule.
Yeah, it is.
Get in on this cornhole tournament.
It's an annual event. Yeah, Torey said he launched it back in 2017. Maybe he said like 6 or 7 years. They couldn't do it, of course, during the COVID years, which certainly understandable. But yeah, the other thing is he said that all of the farm animals like ate all of the grass in his backyard. So I guess was the part of the price that he had to pay is that there's now there isn't any grass in his backyard. But he probably should have expected that. Like, let's be real. That was just he had that coming all along.
This is a hard time you live in, but we did have 2 guys almost go for the cycle tonight, Jesse. And in the organization, we almost had 3 guys go for the cycle tonight because Jordan Lawlar made his return to the Reno Aces. He hit a home run. I think he was just triple shy of the cycle. Right. He had a double, a single, and a home run. And again, very exciting to see guys like Lawlar and Perdomo return and immediately start contributing, immediately be right kind of where they were at. But again, with the way Gino has been playing and the things that have been going on, I mean, Jordan Lawlar could easily find his way back up into this organization at the major league level very soon, I feel like.
I asked Torey today, not directly in connection with Gino, but I did ask what positions he expects Lawlar to play down in Reno. And Torey said primarily shortstop. He said maybe some third base. He did add that caveat, but It sounds like they're going to have Lawlar focus on shortstop for the most part, at least. But yeah, it's a reasonable thought for sure. Like, there's no question Gino is still struggling. He didn't have a hit in this game. A couple of strikeouts. He did get on base once via a hit by pitch, but his at-bats continue to look pretty rough, frankly. There's a lot of swing and miss sliders down in the zone. There's a lot of swing and miss on fastballs up. Just feels like he's kind of caught in between and just not in a really great place at the plate right now. So for the D-backs, ideally, like the best case scenario is that Gino turns it around and figures it out. He's had some years where, as the season has gone on, he's sort of gotten hot in the middle of the summer. And I think the D-backs are hoping that happens here again, but they also might have to face what appears to be a at least possible reality, which is that maybe Gino Suarez is kind of on the downturn of his career, and that it's just not going to really come together for him, at least not this year. Maybe there's some adjustments he can make, some things he can do, not necessarily the end of his playing career or anything like that, but the D-backs need more offense from that position, frankly. And I think the leash is, I'm not going to say the leash is short, but I think the leash is certainly getting shorter as the days go on.
It's definitely an interesting move that the Diamondbacks kept Blaze Alexander up as the corresponding move with Geraldo Perdomo and decided to send Pavin Smith down. Like, we know when Alek Thomas returns, most likely they're going to have to send someone down, and Blaze seems like a very, obviously an easy candidate, right? But the thing there is that if Gino really struggles over this stretch, who knows? And I'm not saying they're sending Gino down. I'm just saying the Diamondbacks have not shied away at times from pulling that trigger on DFAing guys. And I wouldn't be like, it wouldn't surprise me any longer, even though probably like 2 weeks ago, I said it's no. Like 2 weeks ago, I was like, no, give him more time. But here we are where, the more that this season drags on and the longer you see him struggle, especially in a game like tonight, where so many of the players had a multi-hit night. And again, Christian Walker went 0 for 5. So I'm not saying like everybody in the lineup needed to have hits just to validate their existence and being in the lineup. I just feel like Gino just continues to struggle, and I don't see things getting much better at times, and I talked about earlier in the show about Corbin Carroll, where he would still have an 0 for 4 night, yet there were things that we would see that felt encouraging, and people called us crazy, even though we were saying like, he's having some better at-bats. He went 0 for 4, you idiots. What do you mean he had better at-bats? It's like sometimes just watching, the swings or at least the results of the swing and where the ball goes or how hard he hit it sometimes can be encouraging, even if it falls for a fly out, or even if it goes, for a ground out or something like that. Right. But I don't know if we're seeing that right now out of Gino. And I don't know about, Lawlar not playing third. I mean, who knows what's happening there? It could be a lie, probably not a lie, but maybe he's lying. But we know there is one thing that never lies, Jesse, and that's the numbers. Jesse's numbers, they never lie. And what do you have for your number for tonight's game, Jesse?
Yeah, I'm kind of cheating a little bit, frankly. This is a sort of like a record achievement that was nearly achieved tonight, but wasn't. So this is a little anticlimactic. But the number is 3. And 3 simply stands for 3-hit games. The Diamondbacks had 4 different players with 3-hit games in this one. Geraldo Perdomo had an opportunity to make it 5 guys with 3-hit games in the bottom of the 8th. Unfortunately, that did not come to pass. It stayed as 4. But if it had been 5, Derek, this would have been only the second time in Diamondbacks franchise history where they had 5 different players have 3 or more hits in a game. The only other time it happened, if I can check my notes here, it was back on June 4th, 2014. And of course, that happened at Coors Field. So we have to sort of put an asterisk Bye.
That's different. That's understandable. But tonight, I mean, tonight's definitely encouraging. It's a step in the right direction, and it's more of what we thought we were going to see regularly out of this team, where we did have nights like tonight, and it is different guys contributing. Even on a night where Cattell didn't have a single hit, you still had the Diamondbacks be able to put up 9 runs. Now, kind of over the last month, that didn't really seem like imaginable. It didn't seem like that's something that could happen, that the Diamondbacks could have a big night like tonight and not really have Cattell be a main contributor. You know, Lourdes 3 for 5 tonight, Gabby 3 for 5. Those are 2 guys that are so important to getting back right now. And I mean, again, if we can get Gabby and Lourdes to start contributing more regularly, it really doesn't even matter that Gino struggles, because his defense is still excellent over there at third base. And if they can get, you know, a bigger team contribution like they got tonight, then I mean, it's kind of okay to have a couple of guys that aren't, you know, doing their best right now. Corbin, he's been very good lately, and Corbin definitely seems like he's returning to form.
Yeah, Corbin, 3 more hits in this one. He reached 4 times. Derek, going back to the beginning of the Padres series, has now reached in 13 of his last 24 plate appearances. I tweeted it out. I think that's an on-base percentage of like 542 or something like that. Obviously, it's only a 5-game span. You want to see it for a longer period of time. But Corbin in June, he's been getting on base. And we haven't necessarily seen the slug come back all the way. I know he did have a double and a triple in this game, so you saw at least some of that. But the reality is, even if Corbin Carroll the rest of the season were to just be a guy who got on base but didn't, you know, was more gap to gap power, didn't really hit home runs. That's still a really valuable player. That still is a player that could be really worth hitting at the top of the lineup if he has, you know, a 350, 360 on base percentage or something like that the rest of the way. With his ability, with all the damage that he can do once he's on the bases, that's a really valuable player, and the kind of player you're totally fine putting at the top of the lineup, even if the 25 homers isn't necessarily there.
10 for 25 in his last 6 games for 400 batting average. He's reached base safely in 19 of his last 21 games. So again, these are things that the early season struggles, they terrified me too, but I really feel like we're out of the woods with Corbin being as ice cold as he was at one point and really just contributing in different ways regularly. Yeah, he doesn't have that home run. Yeah, maybe that triple tonight last year would have gone for a home run. But still, it doesn't matter. It was a triple tonight, and Corbin's the fastest man on the planet. I couldn't believe he tagged up on that one, the one fly out. I couldn't believe he tagged up.
That was gutsy.
The ball's on that man. I love it. I love it.
And I think Perdomo was behind him at first base.
Yeah, and he tagged up and went to second.
Yeah, they were able to get to second and third.
But see, it's little things like that, right, Jesse? I mean, like, again, with the way this team has been going, they've lost some close games, right? And the ability sometimes to move up, get runners in scoring position, get those guys home next time on a little single or some sort of bloop, you know, pop fly or something. It just changes the game. And I mean, tonight's game, even though at one point it felt like they very much were in control of the Angels still fought back and put up 4 runs. And to be honest, with the way the offense has been performing over the last month, 4 runs is enough to beat this team at times. So the Diamondbacks did a good job of staying aggressive, keeping their foot on the pedal tonight.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, this is a big week, Derek. Like, the Diamondbacks have an opportunity here with 2 more games against an Angels team that is not very good. I could talk for a while about all of the mistakes that the Angels made throughout this game, the sort of blunders that they made. Why is Joe Adell stealing third, down 3 runs with 2 outs, and Gabby Moreno in a left-handed? It's some just egregious things that the Angels did in this game. The D-backs have an opportunity to come in here and take advantage of this. You've got 2 more against the Angels. You've got 3 against the Chicago White Sox, who might be the worst team in the sport, probably are the worst team in the sport. So this is big. I mean, if the Diamondbacks are able to go, you know, say 4-1 for the rest of the week, which I know is not an easy task, even against this caliber of team. you're looking at being a 500 team at the end of the week, which I think would be a really nice lift for this Diamondbacks team. They are also only half a game out of the wild card after this one as well. So for people keeping an eye on that, they are very much right in the mix.
Stop. If you're keeping an eye on it, just stop. It's going to change 9 million times between now and the end of the season. So let's just not worry about that right now. But we do thank you guys so much for your time. We, of course, appreciate Jesse for joining us. We will be back tomorrow with Jesse and I in studio at 1 p.m. We're going to be joined by Nash Walker from the Reno Aces, who's going to come chat with us about some of these young prospects that we've been reading about. Going to talk about Jordan Lawlar, Adrian Del Castillo, and more. So make sure to join us at 1 p.m. tomorrow for that. In the meantime, we hope you guys follow us on Twitter. I am at Cap_caveman with a K. Jesse is at Jesse N. Friedman. Of course, the people's producer, Damon, is at Damon Dog. That's DAWG. We are Damon's Dogs. Bark, bark.
I'm sorry. I really dropped the ball there.
God damn it. Just get out.
I think you have to do it over again, right?
Yeah, okay.
We are it over again.
We are Damon's Dogs. Bark, bark.
There we go.
All right, that's better. All right. But of course, our show's at PHNX_D-backs, and all roads do lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We thank you guys again for your time. We hope to see you guys in the live chat tomorrow at 1 p.m. We hope you have a wonderful night. Go Snakes, and we'll see you again tomorrow. And in the meantime, we love you. We appreciate you. Have a wonderful night. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when Jerry P is on your team.
We all silly like the mayor.